Hey guys, I want to share a special announcement with you about tomorrow, which is Good Friday. But first, I just kind of want to share with us a couple things, just give us a little more insight and understanding to all that God has done for us in this season that we celebrate Easter. A lot of times when we're reading through the Gospels, we can unintentionally miss some details just because we're not really familiar with Jewish tradition. And in the synoptics, there's two that are mentioned in every one that I think are really important. It's the fact that Jesus cried out and he gave up his spirit at 3 o'clock. And here's why I think those are significant. In the days of the temple, the evening sacrifices were made at 3 o'clock. And then during Passover, the chief priest would climb to the Temple Mount and blow the shofar. And the shofar was to be kind of like a trumpet to us, is this long, gnarled wooden horn that its use in the Old Testament had kind of become synonymous with God's voice. But at the end of Passover, he would go up the Temple Mount and blow that to signify to everyone there that the sacrifice had been made. And so when Jesus is on the cross and he cries out and gives up his spirit, he's making a proclamation that the final and perfect sacrifice has been made. We also know at that moment that the curtain in the temple was torn in two. And a lot of us are familiar with that passage. We understand it as Jesus bridging that gap, granting us access into the Holy of Holies and into God's presence. But something else I wanted to make us aware of is that there was a tradition, and there still is a tradition that continues to this day, called the Kariah, which is the tearing of your garments in mourning and in grief. And when a father would lose a son, he would tear his robe just in grief. And so I think we can also equate that to the tearing of the curtain in two, and God losing his son and tearing that in grief as well. And so I just want to kind of share those things with you as we kind of focus in this weekend. And the big announcement for tomorrow is we want to invite you. We're going to be broadcasting on Facebook Live between 2 and 3 o'clock tomorrow. We'll be doing some worship, some old hymns, some new songs, some times of prayer. So just really want to invite you to join us for that, if you would. And as we just kind of look at and marvel at the sacrifice that God has given us in his Son to those whom he loves. So we'll hope to see you then.